Thanks for staying. Welcome back. Now, Finance Minister Ken Ofori-Atta is challenging global investors to put their money behind Ghana's growing economic opportunities. He cites especially the financial services, industry and agriculture sectors as safe investment areas that should guarantee high returns in the coming years. According to him, the strides so far made in stabilizing the economy signaled a beginning of an improved business-friendly environment in the country, which investors need to capitalize on. The finance minister was speaking at an investment pitch on the sidelines of the IMF World Bank annual meetings in Washington, D.C.
In a nutshell, we've created a pretty positive environment. I think the spirit for people to do things differently is manifest and it's clear, at least on the international level. Moody's, Fitch, and S&P have all upgraded us, given the type of work that is being done. But I think the commitment of the team and the commitment of the president in terms of moving Ghana beyond aid, it's something that we are not compromising on. And we feel very deeply that Ghana can be that pillar of stability, that beacon, which will then really push to get private sector investment, be the hub for Africa, so that we radiate this type of good governance supported by good macro policies and an opening for private sector. We look at education infrastructure right now, and the pedagogy that we are using is just very hard to believe that there will be equity in the shortest possible time. So the issue of technology as an intervention is a key element for bringing social justice and equity into the system. And I think it's a priority area, and we launched a free senior high school system about a month ago of this semester starting. And that has been quite electric. Almost 100,000 students who otherwise would not have gone to senior high school have now been able to come in, and there's a real energized spirit there. But you also realize that, sort of the kindergarten and the primary school system needs to be strengthened, and teachers need to be much better than they are these days in terms of supervision. So the technological intervention is really key.
Meanwhile, Senior Minister Yao Osafo-Maafo has also been marketing the One District, One Factory policy of government at the meeting. He noted that the policy is being used to resuscitate some defunct and other non-performing factories by tapping into agricultural sector.
Looking at the One District, One Factory, I want to provide some details. We have 216 districts in Ghana and 10 regions. Obviously, if you're talking about one district, one factory, most of the factories are likely to be agriculture based, because the country is naturally an agrarian country. Prior to this, we have launched Planting for Food and Jobs, meaning that the government wants to strengthen the agriculture base to enable us let this One District, One Factory take off properly, knowing that most of the factories are likely to be agricultural based. So far, so good. Certainly, when you talk about the district factory, they must be economically viable. So we may not be expecting 216 distinct district factories. No. Some of these factories may have to produce for others in terms of chain production. And therefore, we are assuming a situation where there will be that collaborative effort of having a chain of factories from different districts, few miles apart, becoming one large producer. We also know that many Ghanaian companies in production have gone into difficulties because the economy itself was not working well. And we want to use this window to bring up some of these industries. We call them low-hanging fruit district factories. And already we have identified about 75 such companies who must be aided to go into proper production, because their problems may be working capital, their problems could be location, their problems were initially power outages. We had about 4 years of power crisis, and many factories closed down. So all these we are adding to that production. Between Ghana and Cote d'Ivoire, we produce 65% of the world cocoa raw materials. Ghana earned $2.1 billion last year from its bean, and Cote d'Ivoire earned 3.4. So between the two of us, we earned $5.5 billion from our cocoa business. The chocolate business last year was $106 billion. So that value added becomes an obvious 106 billion is the chain. We earned 6 billion. And the chocolate producers earned 100 billion. Naturally, this is an area our president is upbeat about. We need to add value to our raw materials. Not only cocoa, but to most of the other raw materials. Our biggest problem in Ghana today is unemployment. And the government system cannot create that employment. That employment can best be created through the window of the private sector, because we have the basic materials to enable the private sector to develop.
On his part, Ghana's ambassador to the United States of America, Dr. Balfour Ejei-Berua, also highlighted some efforts to assist investors to reach out to Ghana's potential.
We are going to make sure that those who go over to Accra to do business also do have some initial support. So we are asking for investment contacts in every single ministry in Ghana, and we are getting responses. And therefore, if you made an inquiry with us and we couldn't fill it, we will certainly give you a name and a number in Accra who ought to be able to shepherd you through whatever it is that you needed to know. So I'm just, for this afternoon, I'm just giving you the assurance that you will have the support from us in Washington.
And back home in Ghana, the Ghana Chamber of Commerce and Industry targets to increase export to the United States of America by 11% to over 24% in the next 8 years. Officials expect members to take advantage of the African Growth and Opportunities Act, AGWA, initiative to achieve this objective. Beneficiary countries entitled to export over 6,400 products quota and free duty to the United States of America. Prince Appiah was at a sensitization workshop by the Ghana National Chamber of Commerce and Industry in Kumasi. And our reports.
The African-U.S. bilateral arrangement encourages export-led growth to enhance trade and economic potential of sub-Saharan African countries. Beneficiary countries are entitled to export over 6,400 product quota and duty-free to the United States. Chief Executive of the Ghana Chamber of Commerce and Industry, Makidua Boache, is optimistic the levels will go up.
As I said, the opportunity is there, 6,400, but we are exporting, I think, less than even 100. It means that you're not taking full advantage of that. We also realize that a lot of exporters are not even aware of this individual product. So we need to bring it to their attention. In the next 5 years, together with the government and the Ministry of Trade, we expect that our revenue from export will be very high. We expect that we export even more than what we import. Currently, we import almost everything, and it's putting pressure on our local currency, putting pressure on our foreign revenue. You can't just take up your product and send it to US because there's AGWA. You should be able to meet the standard quality. I mean, there are other products from other countries that are coming in. It's a very competitive market. So you should be able to produce at a very competitive price, the quality that is acceptable, and delivery should be also on point. That is, I think, one key area that we need to work on as a country to ensure that we're able to export under AGWA.
A sensitization workshop on Africa Growth and Opportunity Act, AGWA, has taken place in Kumasi to build capacity of exporters. It was organized by the Ghana Chamber of Commerce and Industry and U.S. Agency for International Development, USAID, West Africa Trade and Investment Hub. Business Development Manager of Bamboo Bicycle, Solomon Mensah, highlights challenges to meeting international quality standards.
It is disaster as an exporter to have your commodity rejected for issues of quality. The cost borders on how much money you've lost. The time and energy invested in exporting is also gone. It's non-retrievable. Oh, it is good to have such a huge range of products that has been listed to benefit from the AGWA program. The reason it is good to have such a huge range of products is the likelihood of your product or your commodity falling under that category of benefiting from the AGWA program.
Ghana looks to increase non-traditional export earnings from $2.4 billion in 2016 to $5 billion by 2021. Ashanti Regional Trade and Industry Officer Mahmouda Usman says developing local export products will stimulate economic growth.
The government, through the Ministry of Trade and Industry, has launched a national export strategy which seeks to ensure that each district in Ghana specializes in at least one exportable product in the country. The strategy will also ensure the establishment of district export committees to provide support services, information on AGWA and market access to exporters.
Let's now move on to one of our top stories. And the year-on-year inflation for the month of September has declined to 12.2%. This rate is a reduction of 0.1 percentage points from the 12.3% recorded in August. The director at the Ghana Statistical Service, Anthony Amuzu, disclosed this to the media here in Accra.
It depends on a number of factors. You know, we are comparing September 2017 to September 2016. So if in September 2016 the increase or the change was low, then you expect that for 2017 the rate will be higher. That's what we've been referring to as the base drift effect. So that is possible reason for that. You realize that for some time now, housing, water, electricity has always been the lowest. And if you remember, when there was that huge increase in electricity and water tariffs, inflation went to 38-point-something%. And now that those high rates are not occurring, that is why you are seeing the rate now very low. Because we are comparing what happened the previous year to what has happened in the current year or the current month. And that is why you see that difference.
So that was a deputy director at the Ghana Statistical Service. Let's now go on the phone lines and speak with an economist, Courage Marty of Data Bank, to do some more analysis. Courage, you're welcome.
Yeah, thanks for having me.
Now, is it anything interesting to you? Does it mean that the decline in inflation rates has now become sustainable?
Well, your line was breaking, but if I got you correctly, I believe that these are things that shouldn't come as unexpected, partly because since the turn of the year, we've seen that a key driver of the decline in inflation is the base effect. So, and this is a situation where last year and the year before had a significant increase in the consumer price index. And so that subsequent months or years, the previous years, which are now serving as the base, we're pulling down the percentage change in the consumer price index. So this is not a surprise in that regard. Having said that, it's also important to recall that in the 2017 budget, fiscal policy measures were taken, and which had a bearing on price dynamics in the economy. One relating to the levies on electricity and that relative to last year would necessarily bring down electricity every month when you measure it against the month the previous year. So overall, it's not a surprise at all, particularly because these are measures that were taken together with base effect to pull down the rate.
Now, isn't it amazing that some of the subsectors that he mentioned earlier, including transport and electricity and gas, have come down significantly this year on year, as compared to the same period last year, even though we have witnessed some increases in petrol prices, and of course, nothing much has changed by way of electricity tariffs. Is it quite interesting?
Well, not much, because we are doing a year-on-year comparison. And when you look at the level last year and you measure it against the index level this year, like I said, even though tariffs would not have reduced, you would notice that tariffs haven't also gone up. Now, what it means is that the expected increase in the consumer price index this year will be slower if tariffs had gone up. So the slower increase in the consumer price index is what would account for the year-on-year decline in the percentage change of the index.
Now, the food and non-alcoholic beverages group also recorded a year-on-year inflation rate of 8.1%, which is 0.7% over last year's period. What does it tell us?
Well, for me, I think that component is disheartening, not to mention the fact that if you look at the staples, we are in the harvest season, and so I'm sure that segment of the food inflation recorded some slowdown in inflation. But the protein components of food inflation, that is meat and fish especially, are the ones driving inflation for food. And it is not surprising, because if you look at the Ghana Statistical Services publication on GDP for Q2 this year, you notice that the fishing subsector of agri contracted by 17.6% year-on-year. So if you don't harvest enough fish, then it is expected that prices of fish will go up and inflation for fish will be high.
All right, now before you go, yesterday the IMF at the current ongoing IMF World Bank annual meetings in Washington, D.C. projected a 9% growth for the country next year. Now, this coupled with the declining rate of inflation, what does it imply for our economy?
Well, 9%, very good. I mean, it's not far from what we are also seeing in-house. We are currently seeing about 8.4% at the last time we tried to do projections. But that is because of oil and gas recovery. For the general economy, the mass of employment is not in oil and gas. So whilst if you look at it from the government revenue side, an increase in growth, particularly in the oil and gas sector, means more revenue for the budget, more opportunity for government to carry out its programs. In terms of real impact on people's pockets, in terms of real impact on increase in wages and employment, I think we would need to tread cautiously in the analysis and expectations, because then it will have to be a matter of how many people is this group employing. And I bet right now it is not as much as you expected. So immediately, even next year, with that 9% growth, it will still have a lot more, higher growth to be recorded in non-oil sector of the economy before we can feel the positive impact.
All right, so do you expect this reduction to continue for the month of October?
Yeah, absolutely. In fact, I'm just checking the numbers before coming to do this interview. I noticed that we may see a substantial decline in October, mainly due to another round of base effect, because from what I am saying, the base for October 2016 appears relatively high enough to pull down the percentage change. And so we are likely to see inflation dropping down to the higher end of 11%. I mean, we see it about 11.7, 11.6, 11.8, but it will drop substantially in October, I expect, because of base effect.
All right. Thank you very much, Courage Marty, for your time. Courage Marty is an economist with Data Bank, and he's been explaining or analyzing the factors leading to the current decline in the inflation rate, which is now standing at 12.2%. Now, moving on, the state is losing millions of Ghana cedis to the use of unapproved routes by tipper trucks transporting stones, chippings, and gravels from quarry sites from Shire Hills to the Tema Harbour. In order to avoid paying the penalty for overloading their trucks, drivers of these trucks divert their routes through the Afenya-Dowenya Road to dodge the axle weighing station along the Afenya-Konsombo Highway. Officials of the Ghana Highways Authority at this checkpoint say they are aware of the problem, but they are helpless. Joy News' MFA Ewenam Ali visited the stretch and reports taxi drivers plying the route as well as residents are bearing the brunt of the illegality being perpetrated by these truck drivers.
The Afenya-Dowenya Road has remained untarred and rough for years. Successive governments have reneged on numerous campaign promises in fixing the stretch to the utmost displeasure of both residents and commercial drivers whose source of livelihood is largely dependent on their daily operations along the stretch.
Ufaswa 2 days 3 days na okana senya say ukitaska kitwe bia udo toto pass into ye brew kwan so pa
every day bia be juma no not tippers ke se no mu tum ka wo kwani so di mu ko he ni ba ni nyina afere be no e bi nu krapo na ya na omunya stress ko kwani so tipa no any load ni nyina etumi ko hwe de bia sa ye dru junction anu mu dia in fact enya sem kitwa.
It is a daily affair to see scores of tipper trucks transporting rocks, gravels, chippings and sand along the stretch to Tema. The state of the road is evident of the amount of weight exerted on it every day by these trucks, maneuvering what can best be described as manholes reading stretch is a lot of anguish and cost to both commercial and private car owners in the locality. Homes and businesses situated along the stretch are covered in red dust blown along as the trucks speed their way to their destinations. The Dowenya Community Clinic located by the roadside has not been spared either. The nets protecting the outpatient department from dust coming from the community is better off not there at all. Every hole is sealed with red dust. The Dowenya Basic School is another public facility along the stretch, which is also enduring the dust from the poor state of the road, compounded by the movement of these tipper trucks. I caught up with one of these truck drivers who told me the choice of route is to dodge traffic. He also said the diversion through Dowenya is shorter to their destination. This claim, however, was vehemently disputed by the taxi drivers who are threatening to block the road to these trucks if authorities responsible fail to take immediate action.
But because of stone on the country,
Tippers ni nyina kwa we aso no munam enti e kwa we de se aban am hwe no amayi amaye na e kwa na e ba broko no ye ma tippers mfa so bi.
I visited the Samajimen's Afenya Axle Weighing Station situated along the Afenya-Konsombo Highway. Here, I sought to verify the claim by these drivers suggesting that tipper trucks deliberately divert their course through the stretch to escape penalty charges for overloading their vehicles. I meet supervisor in charge, Mr. Oscar Kungfu. He corroborates the assertions by the aggrieved drivers.
Normally, when you come and you are not carrying over, we allow you to go. But these drivers, they know they are carrying over, so normally they run away and pass through unapproved routes.
Are you aware of their movements on that stretch?
Yeah, we are.
So what are you doing about it?
Normally, we have reported to the head office, so normally they send a mobile van to go there. By any time the mobile van comes, it goes to the filling station there. And then all the trucks which are coming, they park behind the bridge. They don't come for way until the mobile van leaves. So it means they are deliberately means.
Defaulting trucks pay at least 100 Ghana cedis and 5,000 Ghana cedis at most at this axle weighing station. Mr. Kumfu is unhappy that as officers in charge, they do not have what it takes to perform their duties, seeing the losses being incurred to the state by these trucks.
And on that note, we draw the curtains down on this edition of the Marketplace. Many thanks for watching. My name is Emmanuel Boaji. We have to make a date again, same time tomorrow. Good afternoon.